Hey cruisers, welcome back to the channel. I'm super excited today because it's the first episode of my new segment here on the channel, hashtag Behind the Cruiser, where every single month I'm gonna be bringing a cruiser, a traveler to share their experience, to share their hacks, and to have a conversation like a podcast style for cruisers and travelers. I deeply believe that everybody has something to share and we all have something to learn from each other. So pay attention to my first interview with Matthew, who is a traveler and also he has his own travel agency. So I believe there is so much to learn from Matthew. And if you also want to be here on the show, please drop your social media handle and I'm going to be reaching out because I would love to do this more frequently and probably have it every week. But let's start with bringing one of you guys every single month and learn from each other. If you enjoyed this interview, please subscribe to the channel, share the video, invite more cruises, and let's keep growing this amazing community here on Energy Travel Venture. Enjoy this interview with Matthew, hashtag Behind the Cruiser. All right, everyone, as I was telling you in the introduction of this first episode, hashtag Behind the Cruiser, every single month, which I would love to have every single week a new cruiser, but we're starting and kicking off this first episode with Matthew. How are you today?
I'm all right. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm super excited. Thank you so much for taking part of your time and joining this first episode to share a little bit of yourself, your travel experience, your agency. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Kai, for having me. Of course.
Matthew, tell everybody what state do you live and what do you normally do besides traveling, and also when did your travel passion started? Was with a cruise or was with just with a traditional trip?
Yeah, well, I'm in Arizona, so I live in the Phoenix, Arizona area. Definitely, oh my goodness, the start of the travel passion, I think, was since I was a kid.
Wow.
So I was always interested in travel, and it was just regular vacations. It wasn't something I ever got to do when I was much younger. So, like as a teenager, I finally had friends, and I had a good friend that his mom worked for United Airlines. So we would be able to get buddy passes.
Nice.
And so we were able to do some traveling. So, like, the first time I went to New York was when I was 17 years old. That was probably, I think, my first like trip out of the state. I had done like camping and stuff like that and other little things with my parents. But that was the big one. And then it just kind of kicked off from there. And definitely, I fell in love with Europe. And there was a period when I was in my early 20s where I was going to Europe like every summer. I went 5 years in a row, I think. And then wasn't until much later that I discovered cruising. And I think I went on a cruise when I was maybe 25, and it was a little short one out of Long Beach, California. I think at the time they've renamed the ship now Carnival, but it was the Radiance. I know they have the Radiance now, or Imagination, something like that.
So I want to actually drop a question here for everybody who's gonna be
Yeah.
watching this interview. Drop in the comment if you had been in that ship that Matthew have just mentioned. If you have some experience, when was the first time and how was that experience too? Okay, so you got and that was your first very cruise.
That was the first cruise. It was like I think a 4 or 5 day short one out of Long Beach. Yeah.
And then after that cruise, what happened? Like
So maybe kind of the opposite of what you think would happen is it wasn't great.
okay,
It was
okay.
okay. I mean, we were very young, and me and my friend that went, we actually like the ship was just smaller and didn't have a lot of things to do, and we kind of found ourselves being bored.
Okay,
So we
incredible.
ate,
Yes, you mentioned
yeah.
something here because I know people preach on the internet like, "Oh my God, there's so much to do on a cruise. Like you won't ever get bored." Da 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 da. So
And the thing was too, I think at that time, like we weren't really like going to a lot of the random activities that they have because they just weren't interesting to us. So I'm sure there could have been more things we found, but there wasn't things we particularly want to do. So we ate a lot. We walked around the boat a lot, and we didn't hate it or anything. We just were like, okay. And it was probably a decade before I cruised again. And then that was the big one with my fiance out of we went on Lure of the Seas. out of Miami and on Royal Caribbean, and that was the game changer. Then it was like, okay, I love cruising. This is amazing. I want to
Okay.
do this more.
So this is like very interesting because normally people always say like I would say like 90% of cruisers you always like hear like, okay, my first cruise experience was amazing, then I fall in love and then I want to repeat. Or sometimes like people who hate it never come back, but at least you like try it. Okay, okay, like you went in the first cruise, it wasn't too great, and then years after you go on this second cruise, and then it's another cruise line, another cruise corporation. How was that experience? What changed? And what made your mind to be more addicted to cruises? Because maybe like after that cruise, that's that like you mentioned was like the kick up to everything.
Yeah, so I mean, just the fact of no, if you haven't been on an Oasis class ship, there just isn't like you can't really explain how incredibly different it is than pretty much everything else in the industry. Yeah, there's mega ships. Everybody has mega ships nowadays, but those ships, even still, like the width of the ship is literally twice as wide as like any other ship.
Yeah,
And it was just such a unique experience. And it was exactly the opposite. The entertainment was amazing. There was multiple Broadway shows. There was the Aqua Theater and like Cirque du Soleil type performances. And then there was just so much to do that in our 7 day cruise, we probably only did maybe half of what was available
wow.
because there was just so much. Plus, I mean, I was a decade older. I was interested in way more things. Um, and we got off at every port we went to, but I could have easily gone back and just not got off the ship at all and stayed on. Um, and I don't know, it was definitely like the perfect mix. It was like, okay, I felt like I got my money's worth. We were in a balcony cabin. That was nice too, because the other one we went on, I think it was in an ocean view or an interior. But don't get me wrong. Funny thing is now every type of cabin I've tried, I've loved for different reasons. But yeah, it was just amazing. The quality of the entertainment was the biggest thing that sticks in my mind even 20 years later, sorry, not 20 years later, but even since that cruise. And then since then, I've probably been on seven more, I think, and I'm going on a cruise no, this Saturday, this Saturday.
Yes, yes,
So.
yes. Amazing. Okay, so then perfect experience. Love Royal Caribbean. Do you think the Matthew who tried cruise for first time 20 years before that one would love this cruise? Would it be memorable too? Or it was because you were like interested in different like things now? Because I want like the audience who was watching and never been on a cruise, like trying to decide to pick that perfect like ship. Like okay, wow, should I go on a short cruise and a small cruise, big cruise? What do you think? Would it be different?
So now I think got distracted, but a year or so ago, I opened a travel agency. So this is the question I get all the time, right? Like, what's the best cruise for me? And I just answered this question on Facebook yesterday, at least in my opinion, is what I tell people. I said, it really depends on what you find value in. I
Perfect.
think that all of the cruise lines are great for many different things, but it depends on what you value most and what experience you want. So to your point, I think it was definitely a mix. So
Okay.
I had changed in what I was interested in. And also I had so much more to be able to do. So it was a totally different experience because of the ship, but it was also, I had different interests, you know,
Perfect.
because now I've gone back to Carnival and I've been on several Carnival, and the one on Saturday is a Carnival, and I have another Carnival in November. And I think what I found more that it wasn't the cruise line so much, it was more for me, it's the ship. I'm not generally interested in very small ships. I found that I like the larger ships and I liked having all the variety.
Okay, interesting, amazing. So now there you have it. Now you can make a your judgment, like whoever is watching, like okay, so this is what I like, this is what I dislike. So I like maybe I will enjoy like something bigger, like you mentioned. So which give everybody more options. So do you started interested in becoming a travel advisor after that cruise or after a couple more cruise?
So it was really when I started traveling to Europe because I also started traveling with friends and I was the planner. I just naturally fell into that. I'd always kind of been the leader of my groups, my friend groups. I was always the mother. the responsible one. And so I was already doing this and I kept doing it. And in 2017, when we went on Lure of the Seas, we went with a group of 18 people.
Wow.
I had organized the whole thing. I wasn't a travel advisor then, but I was the friend that was kind of leading the troop. I had a bunch of people from work. I had a bunch of close friends. And I think that moment was probably like, should I make some money out of this? Like, should I try to make a way of life out of this? I love doing this. I love traveling. Why not try? But it wasn't until 2024, I guess, the end of 23, September of 23, that I finally pulled the trigger because, of course, as we all do, life and a million different excuses for being busy and everything else.
Yes.
I kept saying, "Oh no, no, not yet, not yet." And actually, it was my husband that was like, "Hey, so are you ever going to do this or what?"
Love that. Like, love that extra motivation, that push. And then, if you want to mention the name of the name of Terra, which is your travel agency, right?
Yeah,
Then Terra was born, right?
yeah. Then
After.
Tara was born. So Tara was probably born early 2023, but I spent literally 5 months developing the concept and the
Okay.
idea and doing it. So Terra Explored Travel is the name of my company. So it's terraexplored.com. And you can find me on Instagram and Facebook, everywhere else. So please follow and like. But yeah, so it took a really long time trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do and also like how I wanted the brand to look. And
Exactly.
then when I started in September, actually, once I got all the like assets and the visuals down and understanding and, wrote out a mission statement, wrote out values, did all of that stuff. Looked at what my client was, all those things.
That's great because not too fast. I have like my other questions are pretty much going that same line. Okay, so we have Terra, amazing support, 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 and follow. And then if you need like you want to book a trip, you need to talk to somebody because you get overwhelmed. Like I was that person who always would get overwhelmed on booking a trip or whatever until I fell in love with like traveling. Not specifically with cruise, but I was like you, like that person who always planned everything at some point and then ended loving it. But for people who wants to talk to a travel advisor and find out what is the perfect trip for them, please contact Matthew. So then, Matthew, here's the question: Is Terra specifically for certain type of traveler? And when I say that, is because I know it sounds like so basic. Okay, a traveler is a traveler. Really, is not. Everybody
Yeah.
travel different. Everybody have different interested, and everybody look for different things. And probably people goes to you because you know so much about something, or there's certain type of people, probably certain ages, certain communities that you really want to help when booking that trip.
Yeah, no, it's true. Just like cruises, there is such a variety of traveler, and everybody's priorities are different.
Yes,
So I think that at the most basic level, that's what an advisor is here to do, is to help you figure out what your priorities are and what fits into those priorities. But to your point, yeah, I mean, I think that when I think of my ideal client, I'm thinking of somebody that is adventurous in the sense that they want to get out there and see places they haven't seen before. I do think on a personal level, um, some of my own loves, right? Like I love to work with people that love food. I love people that love history. Those are my personal interests, but they don't have to have my interests, right? Because it's about them, not me. So more than anything, it's what I try to do for them is to find the best value. So not necessarily the cheapest price, definitely not trying to find the cheapest price almost ever, but I'm trying to find the best value for the client to be able to have hopefully an experience, because that's the big thing too. Like it's more than just a ticking off a list item. So that's what I'm looking for. So as a client, maybe somebody that just wants to tick off boxes and stuff, of course I think I could still help you, but it's probably not something I'm going to be super excited about. I'll probably tell you to slow down your trip, and maybe that you like that, maybe you don't.
that's great to hear. I love that. I feel like it's a much like clarity here because people think that, oh, it's a trip is a trip, a cruise is a cruise. Not really, because like you say, some people do want to get off of the ship, some people don't want to, some people want to be it and try different things. I probably tried the culinary experience of a like different country, and that is amazing. So besides cruisers, and we go back to cruises. So traditional traveling, and when I say traditional traveling, is obviously not taking a cruise, maybe like an airplane, like moving from one place to place in a different transportation method. What is that destination? I know you mentioned Europe, but it is in Europe a country and a specific that you really love and you feel like, okay, I can give you an advice about this country and you can do this, and that because you have had such a great time every time you go back.
Well, I definitely the first place that I explored a lot was the Netherlands. So I am Dutch, like ethnically, like my ancestors were Dutch and German, and that was a big thing too. I love history and genealogy, so I was really into that. And so it was personal. But I also met friends in the Netherlands, and then I just fell in love with Europe in general because of the history, but then the Netherlands. So I really identified with being there. I felt like I loved the cultural norms there. I love the food and I love the history. So the Netherlands is someplace I've been to 5 times and I've been to many different parts. It's a small country. So it's definitely something that I am right now. I have a client that's going to go to Amsterdam on a trip. They're going a bunch of other places, but they're stopping in Amsterdam. And to your point, I was like, hey, make sure when you go to the Netherlands, go and have an Indonesian rice table, or at least go to an Indonesian restaurant. Because if you don't know the Netherlands history, they colonized Indonesia. And then when they were kind of getting kicked out of Indonesia by the locals, there was a tribe of Indonesians that supported the Netherlands, like the royalty, and they didn't win. So they gave them like asylum in the Netherlands. Now it wasn't great, and they were like living in like tent camps for a
Wow.
while, and the Netherlands made mistakes too. But because of that, Indonesian food is actually like really part of the Dutch culture, and they have some of the best Indonesian food in the world. And I had a really good friend that took me there, and he's made me at home dishes. He's Dutch through and through. Actually, he grew up in Aruba, um,
Nice.
but it lives in the Netherlands, or back home in the Netherlands. And Aruba is an overseas territory of the Netherlands. But that's like something maybe you wouldn't think of that I would be like, oh my God, you have to go have Indonesian food like if you go to the Netherlands. And then I've fallen in love with Spain too. So we've been on 2 trips to Spain now, and I every bit of it that I see, I love it more, and I want to move there. So
Nice. I was able to go to Spain for first time last year, and I definitely love like I can say I love Spain too. So I really like that you gave us like a little bit of history and a little bit of tips because I always said that maybe okay, we love cruises, we want to go on cruises, but sometimes if you cruise like a prop, some people love to go to their port or city destination or country. If you're traveling from the US and taking a cruise in Europe, maybe you're gonna be in one of those cities, or maybe you're gonna be in one of those countries, of course, and you're looking for things to do. And then having someone like you as a travel advisor who can tell me like, hey, you can also do this, and that. It's amazing. So people start taking notes, please, when it's time to take your next cruise. Okay, so my other question is back to cruises and back to the cruise experience. This can be something recently, probably from your previous cruise experience, like recently or old. And I want to ask this question because this is the part that some people don't talk about, and they just go for that. Let's criticize the cruise line. Let's criticize my vacation. Have you ever had a experience on a cruise that you were expecting something from your vacation experience based on the cruise line service and it didn't happen, or it was a little bit different of what you expected? How do you like end your vacation without being frustrated and probably give it a try, or bringing the attention to guest services, or finally be like, okay, I'm done, I'm not going back, or you're trying to find solutions?
so so it's funny because I don't know. Honestly, 100%. I'm maybe I'm just very low maintenance, but I
Okay.
am pretty much
Okay.
always satisfied.
Okay.
But and it's like, so here's a little tiny thing that is annoying when I walk in the door, but it doesn't really ruin my cruise, especially obviously as it's almost always taken care of. But I do travel a lot with other friends and
Yes.
not loved ones. And we always select that we want separate beds, and then we'll get there and the bed is together. And like we
Like,
know,
what
and if you haven't,
happened?
yeah, and if you know, if you've been on a cruise, if you haven't been on a cruise, but if you've been on a cruise, you know it's no big deal. They're going to take care of it. But if you haven't been on the cruise, it could be really frustrating to
Yeah.
like walk into this and think it's a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. Find your cabin steward; they will take care of it, and they'll usually tell you too. Like if they can't do it then, like I'll be doing it tonight before 7 o'clock. Like they'll almost always give you some sort of timeline. But that is something that, like my friend that went with me on a trip 2 cruises ago, she was like, I don't understand. Didn't we tell them that the beds are supposed to be separate? And I'm like, yes, we did. Like that, and she was so frustrated by that. And then of course, I mean, within like an hour or two of us, we went into the cabin, dropped off our stuff, went out. I think we had dinner and came back, and everything was separated. But I think that could be like a common one that's not a big deal, but some people it could be a really
Yeah.
big deal. And why do you ask me? But then it's not like that when I show up,
Yes.
you know? So I think it's like a small one. And then I'm trying to think, like, I really have not ever had a major problem on any of my cruises to date. Knock on wood. Um, yeah, I
That's
have not.
That's great, and I love asking that because one of my lines on energy travel venture is that I was trying to help people to, even though I know like no cruise is perfect, I know like no hotel, nothing is perfect. Like even if something is happening to you, like try to take what you can learn from that experience, trying to find the solution, and enjoy your cruise, enjoy your vacation, live the experience. I love that you said like okay, like it wasn't like the way I requested, the way that you show that it was being taken care. Like I'm aware that yes, it was a little issue, but I still enjoy my cruise. So
Another thing that can come up on land all the time and comes up on a cruise is sometimes you don't get good service in a restaurant, you know? So that's something. I actually had that with one NCL restaurant, the French restaurant on the Alaska cruise we did. No, 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 no. It was the Caribbean. It was on the Prima. Um, and we just got bad service, like especially because we had been to that restaurant on the Bliss in Alaska
oh,
and had amazing service. And it's a pretty, like refined eatery, I guess you would say. And so like we just didn't have great service in the sense that it was really slow service. Our waiter was not very helpful, was not, they didn't really engage. It seemed like we were almost a bother to them, right? Um, so, it was the same as on land. After the dinner, we went and talked to the maitre d' and we just said, hey, they didn't ruin our meal or anything, but it was definitely like I can tell you that dining experience, it doesn't really in my memory because it was kind of like, okay.
mm-hmm.
And the food actually wasn't as good as it was the first time I had either, too. So the two things together. But again, like, um, we went and said something, and we gave them feedback, and that was it, and it was okay. We went on with our life. But yeah,
Love this approach. I love this approach because since you had another experience before, then you were able to compare, brought the attention, brought the. I just feel like sometimes people, I get it, you're spending your money on a vacation or on a cruise, but I have seen so much like crazy complaints and things like I get it, I understand, trust me, but the way that is, I just feel like it's the approach. So I'm trying to be a different channel when it comes to feedbacks. I love that feedbacks in the way that they can improve, and yes,
yeah.
definitely love
things
that.
are things are not always perfect, and it's okay to share that, and you don't have to yell at people about
Yeah.
it or be rude. And I understand that sometimes you get frustrated. Hey, there's something, those buffet lines, people get cray. Okay, people just will come up in between you and like literally like elbow you, and like, yeah, people are crazy. But I'm not going to be in a fight and get removed from the cruise line or put in detention over somebody being crazy at the buffet line.
100%. You mentioned that you're gonna be going on a cruise Saturday,
Yes.
right? Okay, so you have this cruise, Carnival Cruise, and then how many other cruises do you have for this year so far?
So I have two other cruises booked this year. So in April, I have a seminar at sea. So in the travel industry, that's something that we do in learning. So I'm actually going on a Holland America out of Fort Lauderdale on a cruise there, and it will be a learning. It will be a travel trip. I can't. I'm not going with my partner or friends. I have to share the room with another travel advisor. And we'll be learning about land suppliers. So tours, guided tours, custom trips like Kensington, if you've ever heard of them, or Abercrombie and Kent, and they're going to come and do a bunch of education for us, and just happens to be on a cruise. So that one will be work and pleasure. And then in November, I have a Jubilee, so Carnival Jubilee, which
Nice.
I'm super excited to try because I've never been on that class of ship out of Galveston for a
I
7
can
day.
wait to see pictures and videos.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
so excited,
Yeah.
Les, because
I'm
yes,
trying Carnival Celebration in May. I'm also super excited to see
yes.
what's going on.
I can't wait to see them too. I can't wait to see whether you like it, if you don't, if it's too much, if it's too little. Like, so yes.
So what do you think about what is your best I would say advice, or what is your point of view of pre-booking everything before your cruise? And with that, yes, I'm talking about also tours. Would you recommend book tours straight with the cruise line, outside, and recommend people to get off of the ship, explore? I feel like I'm really pushy with that, but
I hmm, okay. So I think this really depends on the traveler. So because everybody has different things again that they value and for different reasons. So some of us are planners and we get stressed out if we don't already have everything booked, right? So if you're that kind of person, do it. That's what's going to make you happy. You're going to be comfortable and you can do it all with the cruise line or whatever. Honestly, I think 90% of the time, if you just don't want to think about it at all and the cruise line excursion looks interesting, book it. Can you save money by using other suppliers? Absolutely. I work with many of them. I use Viator, I use Project Expedition, Venture Shore, Shore Excursions Group. Like there's a lot of them out there. And the thing is, 90% of the time, they're offering the same exact shore excursion. So you're going to be there with other people from the cruise ship anyway. But and they all are incentivized to get you back to the ship on time because guess what? If people don't keep getting to the ship, they're going to leave reviews and people are not going to book with them. So, but at the end of the day, if you want it to be the easiest and everything all in your app and everything, then do it with the cruise line. And there's nothing wrong with that. Um, and then, like for my cruise on Saturday, I looked at some options. I wasn't like crazy about any of them. I have been to most of the places I'm going, except for one. And my husband hasn't been to any of the places we're going, but he also was like, none of them look like wow, let's do that. So we didn't book any excursions. So we're just
okay.
gonna do whatever we want to do when we show up. Well, I have some ideas about things to do in general, but I'm actually really looking forward to that because we're just gonna have free time.
Awesome. Love this. So people take notes depending on what
Yes.
type of
And the
travel
last
you.
thing is obviously if you've been to the port 6 times and you don't love it, stay on the ship. You
Yeah.
know.
That's another thing, another debate, because I know people, there's like many cruisers who probably they live so close to the port and then they get to go on a cruise very often and they're like, okay, I don't want to get off of the ship today. Um, so we almost like get into the end, but I have one more question and then also we're gonna play a little game because I love to do this in my interviews. How do you feel? I know you mentioned at the beginning of the interview that you have tried different staterooms, like interior, balcony. So far, which one is like, do you prefer? Is there is like there's one that you like? Maybe if I have the opportunity actually to instead of staying here, I will actually stay here.
I'll definitely pick a balcony if that's where the money or the value is, right? But I don't need it. Honestly, I've enjoyed every single stateroom. I think that you do sleep the best in an interior stateroom. Just the darkness is wonderful. And I tend to find that they tend to have a lot of like floor space in interior rooms for some reason. Even though the overall cabin can be smaller, the setup can be a little bit easier to navigate. But of course, I love a balcony. I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't want to hear the
Exactly.
ocean? Who doesn't want to wake up in the morning and go out and have coffee on your balcony, like, or whatever you enjoy. So, I mean, I love it. Of course, I would love to do a suite sometime because I'm a little bit of a bougie bitch, but I usually can't afford that. So that's not what I do?
Yes, I think we all would love to be there at some point. So drop in the questions to what is your favorite stateroom as well. Okay, so I do have a little game for that and to make things very dynamic. And I'm gonna ask you a series of more questions, but this time you have to respond to me with only one response, one answer, and it has to be
One
really
word?
one word, yes, and really fast. Okay?
Oh, no.
If you want, take a sip of water and get ready. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's nothing weird, but it has to be only one word. Okay, here we go. Favorite cruise line:
Royal.
formal dining or casual dining?
Um, Casual.
Okay, I know I asked this question right now, but balcony suite interior or deluxe stateroom. And I say deluxe because I know there's like these cruise lines now that they give you like this experience with like kind of an apartment, like the icon of the sea that has like this amazing extravaganza rooms.
Yeah, I've never been able to see those. So balcony.
Okay, which port are you always excited about?
Ooh, I haven't repeated many ports. Port of Arta.
And which port you are not too excited about?
None, none. I'm not there yet.
Okay, favorite destination or place to cruise to?
Caribbean.
Okay. Mention that essential item that you can forget to pack for your cruise.
Magnetic hooks.
Nice. Sunrise or sunset?
Oh, sunset. Sunset.
Okay, so long or short cruise?
Long.
And I think you mentioned this one before, you responded, but when was your next trip? And you said it's Saturday, you're going on a cruise.
Saturday. 8 day cruise. Yay.
It's a 6 day?
8 day.
8 days. Oh my God, amazing. I can't wait to see everything you're gonna be doing. And please repeat your social media handle so people can follow you. I would definitely put it on the screen and list it in the description of this video because this is gonna be streaming on YouTube and it's gonna stay there forever and ever. So, but mention your social media handle, of course, and way that people can contact you.
Yes. So on all the major ones, you can find me as Terra Explore Travel. There's a couple. The handles vary slightly, but it's all Terra Explore Travel. So if you search that um, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I think that's pretty much. Oh, I'm on Pinterest, Terra Explore
Nice.
Travel.
I love that.
Where else? Oh my goodness. Google definitely. Google Business is there. All Terra Explore Travel. Yep.
Well, Matthew, thank you for accepting this invitation. I have had amazing, amazing, amazing time, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be learning from your tips and your travel experience, of course.
Well, thank you. No, thank you so much. Really, I'm so like appreciative of the chance to do it. Plus, it's just fun to talk about cruises and traveling, right? So,
Exactly. Well,
thank
I'm
you.
gonna say, please stay tuned. If you also want to be on the show, drop your handle on the comments. I'm gonna be taking a quick look to your social media and probably inviting you. I'm gonna try to have a traveler or cruiser every single month. So hashtag behind the cruiser. Thank you so much for watching, people. I see you next week or next month with another episode or another guest.